always, is your co-host, Jim.
This week's show brought to you by the letter X and the number 4.
Ooh, not in that order. And your co-host, Hunter.
Hi, I'm here. What's up?
Yeah, Hunter, you have no pressure to be funny every week like Jim does. He needs
Nope.
he needs a quip. You just need to be here.
I'm here. Let's go.
And joining
begin.
us from Ontario, Canada, and San Jose, California, are Sven Olsen, programmer and co-designer, and Jim Francis, artist and co-designer.
Hello.
Of Ashdar Games, and we are here to talk about their upcoming 4X game, Stars in Shadow. Hi, guys.
Good to be here.
Now, I apologize. I'm probably going to say Star in Shadows or Stars in Shadows like a million times because that my brain just wants to put an S at the end of everything in this. I don't know why. That's why I wrote it wrong earlier, so I apologize for that.
As long as it's spelled right now, it's fine.
Can we call it Master of Shadows?
No, that
would be... No, okay. That's too close.
You can do SIS. SIS is maybe...
SIS. Sis. It sounds like something like your doctor tells you have. You have SIS. And there's treatment, but it's experimental. And we're not sure if it works on humans. We tested it with rats. No, I'm a little warped today. Don't mind me. So thank you for joining us, guys. You guys have a 4X in the works. A very colorful, I might add, 4X. A lot of 4Xs are kind of dour these days, you know. They're kind of dark and kind of like serious. Serious.
It's so pretty, Brian.
In the grim,
it is
dark
so pretty.
Future. Yes. No, we are not grim dark. We are more cheerful.
Very
but
vibrant.
A little cute.
So
yeah,
it looks
in the dark future, there is only vibrant colors to utilize the majority of the palette, but mostly blue.
So
our space is blue, not black. So there you go.
Which is nice.
You could have called it Blue Space.
Oh.
It could have. That would have been another possible name.
That sounds like an alternate dimension type travel thing. They slipped into blue space, sir.
Yeah. Quasi space.
They've gone to plaid.
Quasi space. Yeah, quasi space was green, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I think it was quasi space was the hyperspace, the ultra hyperspace from Star Control 2.
Was it? God.
Quasi space was awesome.
It's been so long since I played that game, I'll be perfectly honest.
You need to replay it. It's very replayable. It only takes 2 or 3 hours if you...
Yeah, only 2 or 3 hours if you just want to get to the first space station. Yeah, that's all. That's as long as it takes.
So that's why we don't see Star Control 2 speed runs.
I've done them without saves, just end to end.
What?
2 hours.
No.
Yep.
That can't. No.
Yep. You just have to know where you're going. I mean, a lot of the game is exploring, so if you know where you're trying to get to.
I suppose that's true. I suppose if you know all the stuff, that's true. I'll be honest, when I first played Star Control 2, and don't worry about it, we go on tangents on this show all the time. So we'll get to your game, don't you worry. But when I first played Star Control 2, I was like, this is too much like Starflight, and I just went back to Starflight. So I never even finished Star Control 2. Because...
You missed a lot. The world building was incredible. The writing was
I played a lot of it, but I don't finish games very often, and this is just one of those I didn't finish. I've never finished.
Yeah, but lucky for you can pick up Urquan Masters, which is a reboot.
Right. It's pretty well done.
So, about Stars in Shadow. Now, I'm seeing here in the lower left that there's a copyright, and it says 2010. You've been working on this game for almost 6 years now?
Well, 2010 is when I started going something like full time. I mean, it's been a hobby for longer than that.
Oh, okay.
There are pieces of the code that date back to like 2000, roughly.
Wow.
You know, when I was still in college and was just messing around with C++ and trying to figure out how to build the engine. So, it's a long-running project, and Jim's been involved since about 2007, which was when I was trying to do a sort of simple proof of concept mock-up of an engine that would be kind of like the tactical engine for Master of Orion 2, and I realized it didn't have a spaceship. And I figured, well, I could draw a spaceship myself, but then I would end up with an ugly-looking demo. So there was this guy who had this webcomic that I thought was awesome called Outsider, and I saw on his website that he occasionally did commissions. So I sent him an email saying, will you draw me a spaceship? And now, 8 years later, Jim has drawn.
Took a hell of a long time to draw that spaceship.
I'm really slow.
Do you want to draw a
spaceship? Also several planets. Also, yeah. And Jim, as some of you, if you go to his website, you'll see Jim has a lot of opinions about strategy games.
What's your website?
Our Jim. Interesting.
What's your website?
I am not opinionated.
What's your website, Mr. Francis? What's your website, Mr. Francis? Throw it out there. Plug it. Pimp it.
Wellofsouls.com.
Wellofsouls.com.
It's full of snakes.
Wait, say again?
Well of Souls. If you Google Well of Souls, you'll find it.
Okay, well, I'll have to remember that. I'll take a note.
If you guys are into mods, like the Homeworld Shipyard site was hosted by Jim, still is hosted by Jim, and was one of the first big fan sites for Homeworld.
No, never heard of it.
Never heard of Homeworld.
Was that some kind of strategy game? I'm not sure.
Some kind of space strategy
Oh
game.
god, Martin's gonna roll in here any second now. We've summoned him.
You guys are getting me excited. I'm a big fan of Homeworld. Sorry.
Yeah, Hunter is our resident Homeworld fanatic.
Tomorrow's the day, right?
Isn't that when the sands of Karak?
Yeah,
Karak?
Shitbreakers or whatever I don't remember what it was. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see because we've heard things, and now it looks like it came together.
I've played it.
Really? And
Yeah.
how did it come together? Did you get your press thing today?
I've only done a skirmish mission, but it's basically Homeworld on the ground. And
the thing that they were saying was, as I was watching the videos for it, that made it interesting is they wanted to have the feel of Homeworld from the navigation perspective, but it's easier to play because instead of being in a 3D playing field, you're on a 2D plane.
I would say they've nailed that.
So are salvage Corvettes still crazy overpowered, or did they fix that?
I don't know.
Don't lead them farther off topic, man.
So I have
Stars and Shadow.
I have a Stars and Shadow question here because we've already said the art looks amazingly great.
It really does.
The thing that kind of worries me in here, right, is whenever you go to the App Store or Steam or wherever, and a lot of people with mobile stuff. So whenever you see a game that has really nice cartoon style art, it's generally one of those Farmville things or something, right? So it's kind of like I glance and I see oh god, freemium hell, and my brain shuts off, right? So and I'm afraid because this is actually a hardcore 4X. It's not like a the play school version. This game's legit. So I'm wondering if it looks too good. You might have to ugly it up some.
Well, if we're too pretty, I think we'll just have to live with that.
Yeah, no, I'm all right with that as a potential problem. People will figure it out eventually.
So basically, you guys have been working on this for ages. Now, where did the idea come from? What do you like? I'm going to be honest. There are a lot of spacey 4X games right now, which is not a problem we thought we'd have 4 or 5 years ago when I started my site. I'll be honest with you, but there are a lot of them out there right now. So, what do you think differentiates this one in your opinion? What do you think differentiates your game from the other 4X space games that are trying to vie for our attention right now?
Well, I mean, you've already told us one of the obvious answers, which is the art style, right?
This is true.
I mean, it has a different mood, and
this is true too.
After spending 5 years working on one of these things, the feature list doesn't matter to me as much. I'm realizing that there's all of these little decisions that you make when you're putting together a game like this. It's not just, is it turn-based or is it real-time? It's how exactly does the UI for moving population around work? And it's not even Is it a hardpoint system or is it a space-based system that you're using when you're designing starships? It's how exactly is that implemented, and how is it balanced, and how does it tie into the tech tree? And I think it's great that there are so many different games in this genre coming out right now. And I think ours definitely has its own voice. It has its own character, and I like it. I think it's a pretty good voice. It's a pretty good character.
If I can interject, one of the things that I've been disappointed in a lot of the recent other Space Force games that have come out is that they've had great feature lists, but they don't play that well.
Well, not only that, but they feel soulless.
Yeah.
They feel like, oh, we're going to try and make Master of Orion 2, but tweak like one little thing, and it'll be like better or something. I mean, it is a tough. I do sympathize with any developer of a 4X game, because they have that line they need to walk, because people want like the familiarity of like a Master of Orion 2 type thing, but not.
Well, I think where it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
And I wanna because of this, I wanna go down this rabbit hole kind of deep. Is okay. So the game looks good, and the UI actually makes sense, which is scary.
It's a great UI. Let me just throw that in. Fantastic UI. I'm a UI nut. You guys have made a really sexy UI. I just want to throw that out there.
Thank you.
It's because UI is so fucking important when you have so much shit to juggle, and so many games just don't understand that.
Well, and the thing is, it's like we said about colors, right? So there's good use of color in the UI, and there's very easy iconography. It's like a wrench is a wrench, and a coin's a coin, and an ear of corn's an ear of corn, and it looks great, right? Like I can't point to another UI. Like if you talk about like
preach it, brother, man, preach it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the Endless Space there. If you look at Endless Space is like the other game that has a nice clean UI, but even so, it's a little muddy compared to this, right? So this is like a bold and clear and very interpretable UI, right? Nobody's going to struggle with this. If they do, then you didn't need them anyway. But the thing, once you get past the usability, right, and the prettiness, then we talk about how smart the AI is as an opponent. And does this thing? It does multiplayer, right? I know local, but does it do across the internet? Will it?
Oh no, it does not do multiplayer.
No? Because I saw I could put a second human player in.
Oh, you can, but they're human the species, not human as in.
Oh.
You're confusing faction with.
Okay.
I mean, maybe we should even change the name of that. Call them humanity, just so it's particularly obvious that it's not human mode. No, we could do multiplayer. The guts of the engine are designed to eventually allow multiplayer, and I really quite like the multiplayer community that's built up around Sword of the Stars, which I participated in a little, but the release version of the game isn't going to have it. If we're moderately successful and there's time for an expansion, there'll be an expansion that'll unlock multiplayer.
Okay, so then it falls even more so into the AI thing, right? Because the thing that kills me is like I'll play a game like I'm playing Star Drive or something, and the AI will come over and take like a scout and probe my system, right? And he dies, of course, because I have a giant fleet. So the next turn he sends another one, and then the next turn he sends like a couple transports, and it's like, wait, dude, what are you doing?
What the hell are you doing, AI?
Yeah, he's like pitching them down a hole, and it's like, or you just watch the AI do some dumb shit in some of these games, and they're AAA games, and just stupid stuff happens. Like, I mean, if we'll never have Brad Wardell on here after I say this, but like even with Stardock's stuff, I watch the AI do ridiculous shit. And now they come along and patch it, like months later it gets smarter. And then we had just very recently with Pandora, there was a fan of that who went in and just did a complete reboot of the AI, and then they picked that up and made it an official patch, and then put some other stuff with it. So it seems like the thing, like once you get past everything else, the place people are going to just rip you apart is AI.
Yeah.
So explain to me why that's not going to happen.
Well, I think it was Brad Wardell himself who was saying that 90% of players never go harder than easy on the AI, and so AI is not that important.
Yeah, but if it does nonsensical shit even at
Right.
easy, it's going to break my disbelief,
Well,
right?
I don't agree with what Mr. Wardell said, but so there are two aspects to AI that I think are important. One is that it presents a challenge, and that's something that we think is very important. And I think even though there's a lot more work to do, I think right now it does present a decent challenge.
Okay.
But the other one is to make it behave in interesting ways. One of the issues with games like Endless Space or Endless Legend is that they're primarily multiplayer games. So the diplomacy system kind of is built around having a human player, and so the AI has to act like a real human player.
Can you get a little closer to your mic? You're quite soft for me.
Sorry, is everyone else hearing me okay?
I can hear you all right. You're a little soft, but I can I can understand you. Yeah.
I'll try to speak up.
No worries.
So we want our AI players to play like they don't know they're in a game. We want them to role play a little bit, and so we have a diplomacy and event system that tries to make them do interesting things that make sense in the game world, as opposed to being human players who are inevitably going to attack.
Well,
so you've got
we're working on a diplomacy and event system that makes them behave like
so you've got like a personality to each of the races where they act as their traits are, right? So, if there's one race that's kind of cowardly, they're just going to do that.
Right, and and again, this diplomacy right now, you're basically just either at war or at peace with someone. But in the diplomacy and event system that we're putting into the game, there will be a lot of things to interact over, as opposed to will you trade me some shiny things, or
that's good.
Shall we go to war? So
yeah, and that was a place where Star Drive 2, which Star Drive 2 of Master of Orion 2 clones, I think Star Drive 2 is probably the best of them that's out right now. But he took a beating because of the diplomacy, because it's basically like the AI walks up and says, "Hello, friend, die,"
Yeah.
And then you have like a giant battle fleet like fall on you 2 turns later, like as soon as you meet anybody, they're going for your throat.
And then 4 turns later, we're your friend again. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, well, because they ran out of money. So it's much like the United States foreign policy. But yeah, it's just that thing, of like, okay, I met somebody, shoot to kill, right?
Yeah,
and that's kind
to
of,
some degree the problem may be that the AI is too good. As Jim was saying, it's behaving like it's a player that knows that it's in a game and it's trying to win. It's not a sort of NPC that's role playing a bit. So
yeah, and you'll also get like, the AI, if they're smart and they play like a human player, what you're going to have happen, much like whenever we were talking about Star Nomad 2 last week, is as soon as one faction starts to win, all the other factions forget about fighting each other and turn to wipe out the guy that just got strong,
right.
which will be the player every time, right? So
right.
then you end up buried.
Sounds like every time I play Settlers of Catan.
Yes, which is a great game against other people, but would not be nearly as much fun against computers, because you want different things if you're playing a game of this sort rather than a short Euro game.
So you could potentially have a race in here that just wants to be friends, right? And they'll just be friendly with anybody until somebody starts shooting at them, kind of thing, right? And you could do like whatever.
That's basically how the Fidi are going to behave. That's sort of our approach, and they're going to have certain perks. So they're happy to talk to pirates, and their reaction to a pirate base is lovely. Why don't we establish trade relations, and you can sell us whatever awesome things you have collected in the course of your career as pirates, and then you can hire their ships as mercenaries, and you sort of play as the ancient Carthaginians did, and with their Numidian light
Yeah.
cavalry and so on.
I gotta say, I really like the apparent work and detail that has gone into each of the 7 races in this game. You know,
Yeah.
like the first game I played, I tried playing as the Greemac Empire. I don't know why I liked them. They had the distortion field that looked neat. I just chose them. I just chose them at
Tragically,
random.
the distortion field not working right now. But
Right, it remains a
They do
to-do
look
item,
neat.
but I mean the animation looked neat, and they got a short-range torpedo. I thought that was neat, but they also like have a heterostocracy, dog eat dog, you know, internal politics. I really like that. But then I saw like, oh, I should be playing the Orthan because I'm always into a sciencey character, like a sciencey race, and they apparently generate more science. So those are the ones I probably want to go with. But I love what you've done with humanity. Like in so many games, humanity's like the Federation, you know, or whatever, you know. Not this game. They're a bunch of asshole nomads, apparently.
Yeah, I tried to give humanity. It's always fun to give the human player a little bit more of an extreme character, and they have kind of a special and especially difficult start in that they don't even have a home world. So they, this is kind of the hard mode faction where, depending on the start, could have a really difficult time if you happen across a good planet right away, which is unfortunate.
And you know why they don't have a home world, right? It's because Donald Trump got elected in 2016, and
all we know is that Earth was probably destroyed, and we don't know why. That could be it.
So speaking of planets, I'm looking at one of the planets right now, and I've got to say I'm really impressed with the layering effects that you have on the planets.
Yeah, we have land and cloud layers, and then we have various kinds of city lights that you'll see both actually on the day side and the nighttime side, depending on how densely populated.
Yeah, because I'm looking at a glacier planet right now, which is like the top and bottom half are all frozen over, and it's got like this midsection that's kind of opened up, and I'm really impressed with just how
that's Verold.
That's correct. That's the one I'm looking at, and I'm just really impressed with the way you've made the depth of like the layers look, just with the detail and the art design. I think that's really cool.
The engine does up mapping, so that helps make it look a little bit.
You know where I would love to see the graphics from this? If you pick these up and take them to a game like Star Nomad 2 or something, where, you know, because that game, it looks nice, right? But if you took these kind of planets and these kind of ships and stuff and made like a 2D, just, you know, space exploring game out of that, which you're already going to have the assets, right, when you're done with this, so come see me. We'll do something.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm about to say something I almost shouldn't advertise, but the truth is that there are modders and students and so on who have approached us about wanting to do exactly that.
You are sounding a little
and
soft
I have said, and this is perhaps
bit.
not the wisest thing to say, sure, as long as it's not for profit. Like I, as a young student, was very frustrated by how hard it was to find good free assets to make science fiction games of various sorts. So I said, sure. As long as you give us credit, as long as it's non-commercial, you can use it. You can do anything with it. And there was actually a fairly successful and fairly widely seen mod for a game called Star Sector that was done under those terms, which is basically a 2D exploration game. And
I'm a big fan of that.
Yes. So I still haven't played it. It's still technically an alpha, one of these endlessly alpha games. So you can actually right now use this art in a quite polished 2D exploration game.
You're right. You probably shouldn't have said
that. Would that be the sequel? Would that be the sequel? Like you're a mercenary in this universe? That'd be fun.
I mean, there's endless interesting things that you can do. But yeah, props to Star Sector. Props to the.
That game is coming along slowly but nicely, but so slowly but nicely.
You know what game would be completely fixed by art like this? Is Distant Worlds. If you could just put this art in Distant Worlds, Well, wait a minute. Don't do that, because then I don't need this game. Never mind.
Well, I need to play Distant Worlds. If you have that positive an impression of the mechanics.
Oh, Distant Worlds is pretty much my favorite 4X because it just gets so much like. My favorite parts of the 4X are the first two, exploration and expansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not uncommon.
And Distant Worlds just gets that, just fucking nails it. Sorry.
Well, the thing about Distant Worlds is that it's an ant farm.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and just watch that world work. And transport ships go places, and pirates attack them, and then the military comes and deals with that. And it just everything's automated in all the empires. And then you go in and say, I want to take control of this planet and that ship. And, and just like bite size, just as much game as you can handle. Mm. Or if you want to be emperor and sit in the throne, then you can just turn advisors on for everything, and they come ask you. It's like, hey, we're thinking about some ships. Is that okay? Approve or disapprove? And you just thumbs up, thumbs down their plans. Or you can go completely insane mode and actually micro everything. I don't know anybody that does that. So, but you get, you
See,
get
I'd
to
probably
choose.
try because I'm an idiot and I wouldn't enjoy the game as a result. That's a good high-level summary. So play it as a simulation, just standing back from the controls.
Yeah, you can just engage with it in whatever way you want. If you just want to be the scientist that controls the research and just let the Empire do what it does with what you decide to research, you can influence events that way. So it's just like pick any job in the government and you take it, or the whole thing. So it's pretty neat. It's like $60 for which is actually a bargain, strangely enough, because if you got the game plus all the expansions, it was like what, $200 and some dollars.
Yeah, if you paid for them when they came out, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's the wad of here's everything, $60, and it goes on sale sometimes, which is odd for a Slytherin title.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, so I'm about to start a new game, and I'm looking at the settings here. Now, you have the usual, like, pick a faction, pick a difficulty. What are some of the advanced map settings it says to do? What are some of the advanced map settings that you are planning for this game?
Well, let's see, should it be me or Jim who does that one? Because Jim has perhaps more ideas than I do.
This is something we haven't touched in a little while, and I have a list somewhere, but
I
can't think of that many off the top of my head. Kind of the
there's
standard
a list.
things.
The two obvious ones are some kind of Raging Barbarians option. So right now, the map is seeded with varying numbers of NPCs and varying numbers of epic star systems and varying numbers of special events of various sorts. When the event system goes into the game, there's going to be varying numbers of events of different types, and so all of those will have their canonical values of how dense the NPCs are, or how rare it is to find a really awesome star system. But there will be some buttons in advanced settings that let you mess with that to some degree. We don't want to give you too much control. I think there's an interesting line with the map settings between the point at which you're giving people different interesting options and the point at which you're sort of asking them to be modders for your game. I think games like Sword of the Stars go a little far in terms of giving you a slider of, change all the economic outputs by 152% or something, and then it's just a different game. But in so much as we can identify a few modes that change gameplay in ways that we think is neat and maybe not quite canonical, we'll put buttons in that advanced settings menu.
Nice. Very nice. So I've started a game as the little insect fellas. What are their names? Orthan. And I already like their ship design. See, one thing I'm really enjoying about this game are the varied ship designs, but I can't seem to find a way to edit them. Do
All right,
ships do ships get upgraded when?
You can edit.
Okay,
There's
go ahead.
at the top of the screen. There's a hammer and wrench icon.
Oh, there it
next to Stardate.
is. There it is. I was
I mean,
wondering
there's a
where
couple
that.
different places. Yeah, so up next to Stardate, there's one, and then also
In the game
when
menu.
you're building ships, if you hover over them, there's a button that's another hammer wrench that'll take you into the ship designer.
Okay, I totally missed that. That's my
So
fault.
again, you're only going to see the hulls that you know how to research, which is not very many. But
Yeah,
Right.
because you're at the start of the game.
Right,
you can
of
edit
course.
all the ship hulls, and you can create new designs. You can have multiple designs for the same hull, etc.
I see. Very cool. All right, I was wondering about that because I was like, in the last game I was playing, I was researching new technology. I'm like, what do I do with these? But now I know. So now I'm in a game, very beautiful, very colorful, nice, varied universe with lots of stars. And I gotta say again, love the UI. You got the planetary report, and you can just get at a glance what your planets are doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. And then you just click on one. Ooh, I want them to build this and queue up that and blah blah blah. Oh, there's a thing on the right with all the messages I've got to do. I'll just deal with them one by one. And on the bottom, I love the thing on the bottom. Like here's our fleet. You're not even taking off the map. Like here's everything right here. You're not even taking off the map. Like you click a system, here are the planets. You could just tell. You can just click a planet. You click on a fleet, here are the ships. Boom, and it's all down here on the bottom. Doesn't take you out of the map. Doesn't break immersion. Just really nice. I just gotta say.
I'm glad you like it.
No, I really do. Now, one thing, can I make a suggestion?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Not many games do this, and I wish they did, where there was a way where if nothing happened for a turn, like ships are moving and things are building, but there's no messages or nothing, it just keeps skipping turns until something happens.
That could be. I think that would be an option. Civilization 4 and earlier versions had that, which I liked.
Yes. That's exactly. I think that's where I was thinking of it from because I love that.
Yeah, but
It's not a hard
you don't
feature
want
to add, actually.
the problem though is like you don't want stuff to just fly past and then
Well, right.
and then have some regret like, oh shit, I wish I could have intercepted something that so it would have to, like, as soon as you see an enemy unit move or something, then it would have to stop and be like, okay, do you want to deal with that?
Yeah, new
But-
unknown
but-
ships turning up on the radar would have to count as an event that would stop the auto turning.
It was
Yeah,
also, in Civ 4, it was good because it was something you could do in the early game, and then you could switch it off when you didn't need it anymore. But also, it would only do it if you basically didn't move anything. And there's a difference between how they did it in Civ 4 and Civ 5. It was good in Civ 4, and in Civ 5 it was not good because you would have to jump in and stop it before it went to the next turn.
Exactly. But in Civ 4, it was fantastic. I think Master of Orion 2 might have done it as well, but I think those like the few games that do it. It's just
there's
depressing.
2 points at which these games kind of drag ass, right? Is at the very beginning when you have like a planet and a ship, and then you have to wait like, okay, it'll be 5 turns to get over there and look at that
Yeah,
star
you're just sort
and
of
see.
clicking, waiting
Yeah.
to see what happens.
And then whenever you get toward the late game, then it also kind of is that if nobody's duking it out, right? Because you're going to have things that have build queues of like 150 turns or something, and you're just kind of layer like click 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 on the next turn thing, waiting on something to happen. And I don't know, the build queue system, which is a staple of the genre, but I don't know. There's some games that are just kind of like, do you have the money? Just buy it, right? So it's not like you have to wait on the queue to grind down. It would just be like, do you have the money? Do you have the materials? Done.
We do have the buyout feature currently.
Yeah.
So, there are metal requirements for, in addition to just production requirements. There's also some other resource requirements. So you have to have those resources as well as the cash to buy something.
Oh, so would that be like I have to discover like dilithium crystals on the map somewhere and own that resource, and then I can make the thing?
No, I mean, right now the resource is just metal, so you can build mines anywhere. Some planets are better than others, and if you dig into the planet descriptions, you'll see which ones are better for mining. So if you click just close the ship choice and just clicked on Bacabus, you'll see what's on Bacabus 4 in terms of its metal production. I think it's a normal metal world.
Okay. See, I wonder in a game like this, and I don't think it would fit in with what you're doing, right? So don't go back and retool this. But if you gave the player a pool of starting resources, like, okay, here's 1,000,000 credits, right? And then you can actually click to explore some planets at a price. And this is all like first turn, like show me that one, show me that one, show me that one. Okay, colonize that one, put a factory and a lab here and a whatever, and you just burn out that money, right? In the very first turn, and then you start the game. So it's almost like an accelerated start, but you have to seed your stuff yourself.
Yeah, that would be some kind of option. I mean, if we were to do something like that, it would be like Civilization's advanced start. And some people like to play that way because they don't like the early game, but I think a lot of people in these kind of games do like the early.
Oh, I do, because that's like the explore phase where it's mysterious, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So so Civilization. I haven't played a lot of Civilization in a long time, but that's how they do their advanced start. Is they're just like, here's a wad of resources, blow them, and then
what they do is you can choose which era to start in, and so they already give you certain technologies, and then they give you a few units that are appropriate to that era. And you basically have some points that you can spend to set up cities or even some infrastructure and roads and stuff like that. And then so you can actually start with a country instead of just one city.
Oh, okay, cool.
Nice. So I found a human planet, and I have the option to attack it, but I'm not gonna. I also found a thing with a derelict. See, one thing I like about this game are the events that could happen. I found a planet with a derelict colony. What the hell is that? I can't do anything with it yet because I don't apparently have the technology to go down there.
Right. The only thing you can currently do with them is conquer them, because we don't have the diplomacy hooks in. But eventually, this will be one of the many points over which you can interact with the other races. And you can also.
So you'll be able to accumulate some influence and then use that potentially to make them like you more. By doing little sort of questy things in the game. But yeah, that is a system that we are currently discussing and have some pieces for, but is not in the current test build.
Do you have a technology that allows you to actually see planets? It's like I don't have to send a ship there. I can just kind of look over there and know, like, okay, there's 3 planets, 2 of them are gas giants. One of them may be habitable, but I don't know what the quality is until I actually go there. But then I know, like, there's a potential planet. I'll go there, because it's like today we have telescopes that we can look at a star and say, yeah, there's a planet, all right. But all these games, the whole genre, it's a star until you pull into orbit, and so that's always been it's a trope of the mechanic of a 4X game, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's also 2-dimensional, which is not really so realistic. And there's also no more than 4 planets in any star system, which is not really so realistic.
Yeah, but if you're going to interact with a planet, we don't have a lot of planets that you can interact with that aren't in a certain range anyway, right? So, yeah. I mean, it's a concession to gameplay. You want a mystery until you go there and flip the thing over.
Yeah,
right?
And that's really why we do it, right? That's why everyone does it. We could have a third state that was some sort of long-range scouting. Just as far as implementation goes, the way I would probably do it would be to add a little bit of extra fluff when you have that unexplored star. So if you click on one of these stars, you'll see they tell you it's a red giant or something, and it doesn't tell you anything. But we could say, it looks like there's interesting emissions coming from this system or something like that. That might not be a bad thing.
The game does have a scan range, and you can increase your scan range to the point where you can see ships that are in orbit around a neighboring system. We deliberately prevent you from being able to see an unexplored system so that you have to explore it. We might change that, but I think that part of the fun of this game is exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a thing where I'm bitching and saying, hey, change that, because it's literally every game in the genre does it that way.
Yeah, and
so
there's a reason for the trope.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good reason for the trope.
What would be interesting though, I've never seen one of these games where you could just build a probe. I'm not going to build a ship that I ever want to come back. I'm going to just strap a big engine with a sensor on the front and fire it over there, and it gets there quicker.
I thought SOTS and Mu1 both had probes.
Oh, really?
Am I wrong?
I believe they
Mu1
did.
had scouts. I don't think.
It was all scouts.
There's that one game that we talked about a long time ago that does things kind of in real time. So
Homeworld definitely had probes.
So like
Oh,
you'll
yeah,
send out a
Homeworld was good
probe.
for that.
You'll send out a probe, but you won't get information back for a while, and that information might be outdated because of the limitations of the speed of light.
Yeah, that's a really interesting whole world of mechanics that we're not touching.
No. Sometimes
And there's a very good reason for that.
you gotta
Because the UI becomes very different.
well, you also gotta abstract things to make it fun. You can't make it like super realistic, or no one will have a good time.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you could do it in real time, man. You launch those ships and then like leave your computer on for 100 years, and just check back on it.
Right.
Colony ships,
Yes,
or no,
the truly
generation
realistic
ships.
simulation.
Right.
To actually set the resource, you either need to click on. I'm not sure that. Oh, you did.
Oh, did he not actually change what he was researching?
No.
That's
good.
Yeah, that's the problem
there's-
that we've had since the beta.
There's a delay on the stream, so it's like
Okay.
It's like 20 or 30 seconds. There's always delays. So like I've probably already made. See, I kind of like how like when there's a research thing, it like says, "Hey, you need to research something. Hey."
Yeah, it's nice that it won't let you just walk away from it. It's like no, really, you have to,
Well, it will.
So-
You just have to tell it twice. If you click again when that thing is up, it will just go to the next turn.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, there's an ignore option. So if you really just want to make it happen, you can make it happen.
Can
That was
I just
another
tell the
design
scientists like I don't even want to think about this? Just do it.
choice. Yeah, you can just ignore it, and he'll just do whatever he thinks is best.
Yeah, if you ignore it, the scientist will pick something.
Yeah.
Oh,
For the
really?
human scientists, can you draw like Beaker from the Muppets? Just make a human that kind of looks a lot like Beaker, and
Yeah,
But-
yeah. Then we're basically making Kerbal Space Program, and
oh yeah, that's true. Dang.
Yeah.
it has been done.
Okay. Hey, do have a suggestion though, for the next turn thing, because that's the button that you're gonna whack the most, right? Spacebar.
Yeah, no, I've had that on my list for a while, and it's a really easy thing to do. I'll check back tomorrow, and should be in the game because.
Sorry, go ahead. What?
Yeah, no.
No, I was gonna say
I've
just
done my
go.
piece.
I was gonna
finished.
say.
Well, yeah, a lot of these games they don't do a lot of hotkey stuff, and I mean, it's like you got this GUI, you put all the time into it, and then it's like, do you really want to play it like a text adventure? But I don't know. It's kind of interesting though if there's like menu driven things and you can control it with the keyboard, because I'm a lot faster with the keyboard than the mouse.
Yeah, no,
but-
I mean, I think a game like StarCraft is a good comparison here. You expect people who are just getting used to the game to use the UI, and you want a really good UI so that they have a good experience. But when people are playing through the game for their 12th time, then yeah, you start to discover the hotkeys, and you're clicking through very quickly. One of the things I said a while ago, and I've gotten some real raised eyebrows about, was that I wanted this to be a game that I could play through in an evening. And people said, what, a 4X game that you can play through in an evening? And well, I mean, the truth is I can almost play through Mu 2 in an evening. Because if you've played it so much and you know where the critical points are, and you're clicking quickly just to see how the universe plays out, it's a very different experience than if you're going in for your second or even your third or fourth time and you're still trying to figure things out.
Yeah. So speaking of that, like knowing the critical path to things, and one thing that was really interesting that the original Mu did, I don't think Mu 2 did it, but the original Mu did it, and then Star Drive brought it back, and it's like the only game that I can think of that did this.
The sliders?
They make you make a hard choice, right? It's like, okay, I threw some research into this technology, and then it's like, okay, you can have A or B. You can't get both, and whichever one you don't pick goes away forever.
So there have been many forum threads about just this topic.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of. I mean, there are places to put mutually exclusive choices in a game. I don't think technology is a very good one for a variety of reasons.
Right, because, well, it's like, hey, I discovered cars. Hey, that probably leads into something else that's related to that. Not like, I got cars, now I can't have motorcycles.
Yeah,
because you had to have one or the other. They're mutually exclusive. It's weird. It's a good gameplay mechanic if you're just trying to make a purely abstract game, but it's also a bit world-breaking in terms of, well, wait, I thought that I was in some sort of science fiction universe that had some kind of internal consistency, and this is really weird.
Well, one thing that I think is interesting, though, is instead of specifically picking the tech, so you would say, okay, I'm going to research, like, propulsion, right? I just want to, I know that my ships need to get faster. I don't know what tech is going to pop out of this, but I'm going to put this many points into propulsion research, and then you just randomly get what you get, right?
Let's move on.
Yeah, and also Alpha Centauri, they both had that feature, which I thought was cool in both cases. But again,
it prevents the player from finding that critical path and just drilling right to it, because it's like, I need this drive and that weapon and that shield, and I'm gold. And then you can, whip across. So it kind of forces different decisions.
The question as a game designer is do you want people to be staring at the tech tree and trying to think about, well, how do I want to move through this tech tree? And do you want that experience to be part of the game? And I think I do. So for the game that I'm trying to create, I think we do want people to know where they're going. And if you look in that tech interface, it's not a great tech interface. It doesn't have a particularly nice visualization of the tree, which I would like it to have at some point. But everything is there. And in fact, if you go up to your technology and you click on, say, the construction field, you'll get a list of all possible construction techs that you can make. And in fact, if you want to just go straight to the Dreadstar, which is this huge mobile planet that is the largest and most dangerous ship in the game, and you want that to be your strategy, you can just click Q research, and that is what you will work towards. So it's intended that the choice of how to move through the tech tree is a choice and is part of the game. And as game designers, I think our duty is to make the tree interesting enough that that's an interesting choice. That's something that players can dig their teeth into a bit of, well, do I want to go economic? Do I want to go into one or the other kind of weapon techs? Do I want to focus on my bigger and better ship hulls? And there are pros and cons to all of this, and it depends a bit who my neighbors are and what I'm trying to do. And that to me is an aspect of an interesting 4X game.
Right.
Okay, one thing I definitely praise you for on this, the separate topic, but it's just I'm playing it and had this happen. You send a scout to a planet. Oh God, there's hostiles here, and you cannot avoid combat, and your scout's dead. Well,
yeah, you can.
Here,
you totally can.
No,
okay.
I'm saying every other game, right? You get there, and it's like, pirates, you lose, right? And here it's like I see them, right, and it's like, nope, and I turn around and go right back home. So it's not like you're trapped, It's like, oh, I got, and Sword of the Stars being a big example of that, right? You show up somewhere, and then it's just like, oh, you're gonna fight. That's what's happening, right? You gotta.
Yeah, you don't
run out the clock.
Interestingly, that's not really a mechanics thing. That's a balance thing, because in both Sword of the Stars and in Stars and Shadow, you don't have the option of refusing combat. If someone wants to fight you in a star system, there's gonna be a battle. The difference is just that we've timed the retreat timers compared to the speed at which ships move in such a way that if you want to run, unless they have really good weapons, or you're a really slow ship like a civilian ship, you'll be able to rabbit safely.
Right. When you hit that retreat button, it does actually fight a simulated battle.
Oh, okay. So, but it's just like you're gonna get away because.
Yeah, because you have good engines, and if you rabbit and they're not able to close in the first turn and a half, then you'll get away scot-free.
Oh, okay.
And that happens almost automatically if you hit the runaway button.
So you brought up God, StarCraft before, right? And you were saying, about how this game, it's got a little touch of StarCraft to some things. And the one place, because we were talking about the tech tree stuff, right? So since you reveal this to the player, it's kind of like StarCraft, about 80% of that game is, for a beginning player, is build queue. When you know what you need to build in what order, and if you don't build it optimally, then your opponent's going to crush you because they've got a build order that works, right? So it kind of allows you to develop that here because like, all right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to build this. Well, that didn't work because I wasn't strong enough, fast enough for whatever. So I'll go tweak my build order. And then there's no mystery about it. It's like you actually have a clear path that you can aim down. So yeah, I do like that for that.
Well, that's one of the on the issue of it can be fun, I guess, when technologies give you random results or when there are mutually exclusive results. But it's very hard to choose. Basically, that removes a choice. It's kind of hard when you're given a mutually exclusive set of choices, like they do, I think with Tex in Galciv 3, or like they do in Beyond Earth. If you choose one and the other choice becomes unavailable, it's very difficult or impossible in the space of one playthrough to decide which is the better choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so
how does the AI?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, how does the AI handle its tech tree? Because it has to make these choices too. It's not just about like what ships am I going to build and what planets am I going to go to, but it has to also have a build order. So do you kind of give it sort of a weighted decision tree about, okay, you should probably, because of the personality of this race, tend toward building these sorts of things, and also are the techs specifically different per race? Like some race will get something that I'll just never have the option.
Yes and no. I mean, right now, the AI is all using almost exactly the same traversal through the tech tree. They almost all have the same hard-coded build order, and that is something that has been on my list of things to change for forever. But there's a lot of other things that are somewhat more urgent. But yeah, by the time the game is less intensively beta, there will definitely be a number of different hard-coded cues for how the AI moves through its tech tree, and it will have different strategies. So you may have an AI that has decided to go with heavy armor and kinetic weapons and a brute forcey kind of strategy. You may have one that's going energy weapons. You may have one that's going infrastructure teching early on, and that will be influenced by the personality of the race, but not entirely determined by it. You might get some out of character moments.
Okay. Is there like a rock paper scissors to the tech? Like if he researches one thing, then I say, oh, he went armor tanking, so I'm gonna go with stuff that beats that because I see what he's doing, or is it just kind of like everything's balanced?
There are different weapons have different qualities. Some are more effective against shields, some are more effective against armor. So there is some of that, yes. And also, point defense weapons, counter missiles, and etc. So there's a couple different ways to go. But in addition to what Sven was saying, each race does have custom technologies. So the tech tree is a little bit different for each race.
Yeah,
Okay.
so as Orson, if you go heavy energy, you'll unlock fairly early on these weapons that are not actually available to anyone else until they're building like the moon-sized battle stations called siege weapons, which are these long-range, exceedingly heavy energy cannons that basically just let you sit back on one edge of the map and pound away at your opponents. And
Does
the
it
Orson are the
actually?
only one who can unlock them in anything like the earlier mid-game.
Yeah. Does it actually like draw power off the sun in order to do that?
No.
In a
It
okay.
does not actually draw power off the sun. It
So
just
you wouldn't
uses
say it's a
basic
star
fusion
killer.
reactors.
You wouldn't call that a star killer then?
I
No.
would not call that a Star Killer.
Okay.
You know, I was thinking after I watched
Jeez.
Force Awakens that, man, Star Killer base, that should be one of the endgame techs. Because I would love to be able to, you know, blow up 3 or 4 different enemy planets from across the galaxy. That's handy.
At
Star
once.
Killer. That's Australian for Death Star. It's like, you think that's a Death Star? Now that's a Death Star.
No, it's a Death Star.
Yeah, so when you're in construction here, like, you can click on the field. Sorry, I know 30-second delay.
Right.
But if you click on the field, you get a list of all possible construction techs. And you can jump around and see some of the late game ships you may be able to create, or even mid game ships. Right now, navigating the tech tree is trickier than it ought to be, I think.
I'm building light cruisers like crazy.
So one thing that I would like to see in a game like this, and I think it would actually be helpful to you as the designer, as far as just balancing it out and stuff, is none of these games seem to put in an ant farm mode where you just don't put a human player in there and let the AI duke it out, and then you get to watch what goes down.
Like when I'm debugging the AI, that's how I'm playing. So occasionally I'll make statements on the forums like, you know, in the last few AI trials I've been doing, like the Ural are obviously way too strong, or the Feedy are too strong and need a nerf, and it's because I've been playing those ant farm modes. And
Oh, well, I'm glad you're doing that, because a lot of designers don't do that, and then, you know, it's kind of like, wow, not real balanced, right? So that's good. And it's, you know, I would say leave that exposed to the player at the you know, I mean, if you're confident about the AI and people aren't going to be like, oh God, you know, because a lot of this stuff too, when the problem that's really tough, and we've had a lot of conversations about this, but the problem that's really tough in these games is it's almost impossible to get an AI that actually plays the game like a human. So there comes a point where you fake it and you give a plausibly cinematic opponent.
Yeah, I mean, as both Jim and I were saying early on, that's not our goal. That's very emphatically not our goal, because if the AI plays like a human that knows that it's playing a game, then sort of in character, everyone is a totally Machiavellian backstabber who has no honor and is gonna kick you in the teeth at the first possible opportunity. Is gonna gang up on you as soon as you're getting more powerful than they are, because they don't want to lose the game.
But even if you like that kind of AI play, and some people do, it's impossible to do well because no AI is going to be as smart as a human player. So
yeah.
Unless
So
the
at
game
what
is very
point-
simple, in which case you've screwed up as a designer there.
But can you have a win condition that is almost like, hey, we made Starfleet. It's like we killed off the asshole races, and there's the nice people that are left, and we're all kind of in a peace treaty forever and trading and whatever, and nobody's going to fight anybody now, because at that point it becomes almost like, okay, somebody's got to go for an economic or a diplomatic victory because nobody here really wants to fight anybody.
I mean, technically, in the guts of the engine, that win condition is in right now, but it's impossible to reach because diplomacy is not in the game, and you can't ally with people yet. Yeah.
even if you're a warmonger, even warmongers have friends, and it would be. I don't like games that make you
Kill
eliminate
everyone to claim the end game.
So if someone, if you've, even if you're a planet destroying bastard, if you have some friends, you should be able to be declared victor without having to kill everybody. So our
Yeah.
victory conditions are not yet set, but we'll certainly have ways to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could see like two different political things. There's like the alliance of good guys, and we get rid of the bad guys, or there's the alliance of bad guys, and we've wiped out the good guys, and now we turn on each other, right? Somebody becomes ultimate dictator.
Yeah,
But
unless someone already effectively is ultimate dictator, right? I mean, it's like if it's become you and your toadies who are totally cowed by the awesomeness of your space fleets, you don't need to bother destroying them.
yeah, well, I mean, it's almost
they're
like
already convinced.
it's almost like, well, here's a technology that I researched as far as political technology, right? Like I have invented the Federation, and now I can invite the other races into it, and I might have to cajole them or something. But once they're in, it's like, okay, now we have a lasting peace treaty and whatever, and anybody screws with any of us, then we all go fight that guy, like in a NATO kind of way.
Well, Master of Orion 2 had a very effective way of dealing with this, and it was very simple. And it was just the Galactic Council, which was a vote for a leader, and it was based on population. And so it did two things. One thing was, if you beat everybody up, eventually you'd have 70% of the population or whatever was required, and you could vote for yourself. And you wouldn't have to mop up the rest of them, which is really not particularly interesting. But it also meant that if someone liked you enough, they could vote for you. And so if you made friends and destroyed the people you didn't like, you would eventually win because you would vote for yourself and your friends would vote for you, and then the game would be over. And it prevented the game from being a situation where you had to go kill every last person, or you had to pursue some arbitrary, nonsensical win condition like an economic victory. What the hell is an economic victory?
Yeah, it was a simple mechanic, and it worked pretty well, just for terminating the game at the point when the game is basically won, and we are planning to copy it.
Because it's so elegant, nobody's done it. It's, that's one of the things, like everybody wants to clone Master of Orion, but they don't have the election in there. And like you said, for all those reasons, that's a good mechanic to have because it shuts the game down. When otherwise it's like, okay, I'm playing an RTS and I have to go kill every last peon. And, it's like at some point the other guy has lost, right? And should concede. So, yeah, and this is a way to have people peacefully concede because you're not bombing them into concession. You're just successful enough that they want to follow your lead. So yeah, I like that. I'm glad you guys are doing that. I wish more people did that.
I'm sorry, I got wrapped up in actually playing the game. I really did. I was just like, oh, people are talking, whatever. Click.
Yeah, no, I noticed you ran into some marauders. They destroyed your colony at Sirius. Now the humans have managed to establish a little outpost in your territory.
I know. It's
those pesky humans.
Fucking humans. God.
Why so serious?
They took this planet that had the derelict colony.
Yeah, now it's their derelict. If there were hidden technologies there, they just got them. Which, honestly, I'd kind of like them to be gloating about. We just got deflector shields from the ancient colony that you didn't.
Ha ha ha. That'd be funny. That'd be great diplomacy right there. Gloating. Seriously, that'd be awesome. That would be great. And I like how I can see what the human fleets are doing because we're not exactly friends. We're not exactly enemies. But they're not.
They're inside your scan range here. I mean, if they were farther out or if they were inside a star system that you hadn't explored, they'd be invisible. But because they're kind of messing around right in the middle of your territory, they're pretty clear.
Right. Right, now I wanted to ask how because I've been going through the tech tree and I kind of like at first when I saw the tech tree I was like, what is this? It's just like 8-10 technologies, that's it. But like then it shows you, oh wait, researching this opens up 8 other things that you could research. Like if you research physics, there's a million other things, or fusion. All of a sudden, you've got a billion things to choose from. And I like how everything.
Right now, the tech tree it's pretty sprawling. We've got if you go to the forums, you can find an early graph that we drew and is intermittently updated with new links as new texts go in. that kind of lays it all out in front of you, and it's about the size of most of the tech trees of these sorts of games.
Right, but what I like is it doesn't look like a tree. It's much more organized, and everything is hyperlinked. I gotta say, I wish more games did hyperlinks within their game.
Stole from Civ.
I know, but I mean, not. It's like you'd think more people would steal that kind of shit, but they try and steal other shit. That's like, no, that's not what I wanted. And I'm being whiny, I know, but I just love little things like this. Like this just makes sense. Like, what does this lead to? Why is this important? Oh, that's interesting. What does this lead to?
I mean, it's a game made by strategy gamers for strategy gamers, and I love that feature of Civ 2, and I thought, that was one of the things I really wanted to make sure was there. With a lot of games like Anno 2070 or with Sword of the Stars, like the original Sword of the Stars had a great wiki that was made by the fans, and if you were playing Sword of the Stars, you basically wanted to have 2 or 3 wiki pages up at all times, in addition to the game client, because there was all this stuff that you needed to know and understand in order to play the game. And the nice thing about Civ was that it had the same kind of density, but it was all built organically into the game and the UIs, and so you didn't have to be jumping back and forth between different browsers and crashing your computer and so on and so forth. So yeah, I thought that was worth stealing.
I also like how planets have an auto section, so it's like, I don't want to think about this too hard. Auto, that's nice.
Yeah, an important one of the things that Sven made, one of his prime directives was, in these kinds of games, when you get into late game and you have 20 different planets and 40 different fleets, micromanagement becomes an issue. So we did want to keep things streamlined and offer opportunities to let the computer do things that you don't care about doing.
Right, which is nice. That does streamline things, because I want to be an emperor. Sometimes I don't want to be a scientist. Sometimes I don't want to be a governor. Just fucking do it.
And what exactly is beneath your notice at any point in time does change a bit. So you need some flexibility, but we've generally tried to keep it relatively abstract. The build system is more abstract than say Endless Space or Master of Orion 2. There's only a couple different possible improvements, and you unlock one. Right now you unlock markets as you progress through the tech tree, but there's no more than 5 implemented in the entire game. So you don't have that.
He's talking about planetary improvements.
Yeah, planetary improvements. So you don't have that many choices you need to be making per planet. It's not like in Civ where as you get towards the late game, you've got your 20 build queue that you need to optimize for each city, and you have 30 different cities. So good luck with that.
Now I gotta say the build screen is pretty, and I appreciate this. It's pretty straightforward, because I don't have there's some games like, I want this little generator on this square, and I want this little thing. No, I don't have time for that. So maybe this is another Sword of the Stars thing where it's just like, I want this generator, these weapons, this engine. Done. I don't want to worry about placement or any of that bullshit. Just put this on this.
Yeah, though you can, if you really want to.
Really?
Yep, you can drag and drop, say, the weapons. You can configure where on the ship they go. It's purely aesthetic, but it is there, and a few people have gotten into it. Different strokes for different folks. If you want to have your ion cannons, so extra munitions you can't. But if you scroll up to weapons, you can drag and drop weapons onto individual star hard points, and you could do that with Sword of the Stars too. It is mostly aesthetic. It's only sort of what guns you have and what systems you have that ultimately matters.
Well, so the hard point lists there on the left represent actual hard points on visibly seen on the ship. So, and some of them, in this case, most of them have the same firing arcs, but not all of them do, especially for different ship types. So if you're interested in min-maxing that sort of thing, you can screw around with it.
Right. So so this game feels like it's pretty far along. It's in beta right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're calling it beta, and that is almost a marketing mistake. One of the things I realized as we got deeper into the alleged beta is that a lot of people in games media really do know the old IBM nomenclature for exactly what is beta and what is an alpha. When I started throwing the terms around, I was sort of thinking about Google, and they corrupt the idea of what is a beta so completely that it no longer has any meaning. But if we're going to use the old IBM terms, we're still technically an alpha because the diplomacy system isn't in. And we're not really going to be beta until that piece goes in.
But nobody calls today beta means it's in testing. So
no, not really.
It really does. It doesn't even mean, like, to a lot of people, it doesn't even mean that anymore. Like, people expect a beta to be a finished fucking game with just some minor fucking polish or something. Sorry, some minor polish.
I've been reading now more of the people in the indie community, and I think a lot of people use the words properly. Like Star Sector uses alpha and beta properly.
That's true.
The guys who make Dwarf Fortress use alpha and beta properly. I mean, it's still an alpha, Dwarf Fortress.
Is it?
So
yeah, but there's a lot of games that have been in development, and people have been playing it for 5 years, and they still call it a beta. I mean, when I was in software engineering, alpha meant feature complete. Beta meant release candidate.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes. And that's not what anybody in gaming.
Yeah, no, I mean, the IBM definitions I know is beta is feature complete, gamma is release candidate. But anyways, tangent.
Yeah.
Nerd tangent.
That's fine for a nerd tangent. That's a good nerd tangent, but because it's just hard to know what like these mean. Like there was one game, I won't say what it is, but like he started using 1.0 numbers for his game, and I'm like, oh, this is ready for review, and I started doing a let's play review of it, and he's like, no, this is still early access. I'm like, then why are you using 1 point something? Oh god.
I admitted it was me.
No, it wasn't you, but it wasn't you. But it's just like I wish there was some kind of consistency in that. Like everything falls under the early access umbrella, but what does that mean? It means you're getting it before it's done. But like, what does that mean? It's like it's so confusing anymore.
It's awkward, and it's made more awkward by the fact that we all have different ways in which we're actually doing the development, right? So. Not everyone polishes games the way Blizzard polishes games.
Right.
Most people just flat don't have the assets to polish a game like that and to have such a long testing period. But everyone plays Blizzard games, so their nomenclature has a lot of weight. So the culture is all confused. To sort of answer your question. We're at least 3 to 6 months out from release, I would say right now. And there's still at least one big feature that is still to go in, which is the diplomacy system, which is actually going to have a few other bells and whistles, which is this event deck that Ariok and I have started talking about, and that's going to be integrated into the diplomacy system. So it's going to be a while before this is starting to really look like and play like the game that we intend it to be at release.
Oh, well, I mean, that seems really reasonable because, like, right now, I mean, the AI is doing stuff and I feel like I'm accomplishing something. So that feels like it's fairly well along, but you can tell there's text that says to be done and stuff like that. So you can tell there's
some to-do stuff lingering around. And the UI is not as polished as I'd like in a number of ways. I mean, I wince anytime we have to show a screenshot of the tech tree. And Jim is now coughing, which means I'm talking too frankly about where we are in terms of development.
Oh, that wasn't an actual cough. That was a be quiet cough.
No comment.
Stop spilling all the beans, Sven.
You know, that's what we love here on the Space Game Junkie Podcast. Beans spilled everywhere. That's what we love.
Yes.
One time,
So many beans.
Frank above the beans, or beans above the Frank. I don't remember something. Ben Stiller.
But
Yes.
but no, I mean, one thing I do love, I have to say, I love about how much access we're getting. I mean, there are downsides. It's a double-edged sword. Look at Star Citizen. But I mean, one thing I do love about this era of early access is how do you guys feel about this? Like, there's never been such easy access to developers for fans, you know, and I can imagine that's, you know, some days that's awesome and some days that's terrible. You know, how do you guys, how is that working out for you guys?
I'm really enjoying it. I mean, the community of beta testers that we have collected over the last year, there are some really very thoughtful and very dedicated testers in that group, including, impressively, Jim's own dad, who Bill Francis is our only, I think, over 70 tester, and he has been really hammering on some versions of this build, and intense feedback and so on and so forth.
Wow.
But my impression is that, for whatever reason, a lot of the people who really dig into this genre are very thoughtful, very reasonable, very helpful people, and I've very much appreciated the feedback that we've gotten from the people who have come into the beta. So as a developer, I'm finding it very very helpful. I'm also conscious that the time and patience that these volunteers have is a finite resource. If you've signed up for the beta and I haven't let you in, it's not because I hate you. It's because I know that I only get one chance to make a first impression, and I want the game to be as good as it can be when we pull you in. And if I pull you in for the beta, you're gonna get a worse impression of the game than you'd get if I didn't let you have it until release.
There's two kinds of beta testers. There are people who recognize that there are going to be things missing and want to help test and make a better game. Then there's folks that want to play a free game and they expect it to be basically finished. And that's a perfectly reasonable expectation, but that's a different thing.
Yeah, and that's not where we're at right now.
There's a third option, which is orphans. Because if you ever saw a movie like Annie or Peter Pan or whatever, you go to one of those evil orphanages and just like get a bunch of orphans and then like make them test your game, chain them to the desks.
Well, if we were developing in North Korea or something, probably. I don't think that works here anymore.
Not sense.
So I think I saw on your site that right now you can buy into the beta if you want to. Am I remembering that right? Okay.
Yeah. I mean that's an option that I ended up adding. It's all Elliot's fault. There was one very sweet guy who had, because when we started out, the beta and the pre-order system were totally different. So the beta was you send me an email and I add you to a list, and if you want, like eventually when I need you, I'll send you an email and I'll send you a link to the build. And the pre-order is if you want to get the game early and you would like to help us with funding, which we would very much appreciate because we're broke. Please pre-order, but pre-order did not guarantee you access to the beta. And then I had a few people who had pre-ordered and had also signed up for the beta and kept on sending me emails saying, when do I get my beta invite? And I know I don't get it for free, but I'm a big fan of the game and I really want to see where it is. And I thought, well, all right. The game is far enough along. I'm happy enough to give people access.
I think at this point, because you have an artist, right? And he's pretty good. I would say Stars and Shadow t-shirts. So sell them for some exorbitant amount and all proceeds go to the development.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We should do that. I could use some new T-shirts myself, actually, even just for personal use. I would like to have a Ashdar Cruiser on a T-shirt. And if we ever end up end up going to some game conferences, if Jim and I show up at PAX, it would make us easier to find if we had little T-shirts with space dinosaurs on them.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
All right, add that to the to-do list.
I'm sure my dad would like a Stars and Shadow T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's played more of the game than just about any of the testers. His logs are incredible.
Well, I'm thinking the game looks good, right, and the map and everything. So what I would do is take a game that's like about mid-game and there's some ships around and whatever, and just like take a big screenshot of the map and blow that up and just make a T-shirt out of it. Like front and back, just blue shirt with this map on it.
I'm not sure how well it would print.
We got plenty of options for that kind of thing.
Yeah, we do. I mean, particularly in a lot of the art assets, because it is such a nice cartoony style, there's a lot of stuff here that is pretty T-shirt friendly.
Or like a polo shirt, but instead of the little alligator, you have like the little lizard guy head.
Yeah.
Yes, or a seahorse. I could use a polo shirt with a little seahorse logo. Feedy, that would be awesome.
And call it Shirts and Shadow. Or Shady Shirts. I don't know.
Shirts and Shadow, I like that. I'm writing that down.
Well, we got explore.
Vetoes, shirts and Shadow. No.
We got Explorminate in the house, and they want to know about diplomacy. You guys are late. They already talked about that.
Those freaking guys.
We're
Is
not,
that Nate?
I don't know if it's
Rob,
Nate.
it's
No,
Rob.
It's
It's
Rob.
Rob. Okay,
Because
no,
Nate
Rob's
always
cool.
right. No, they're great, but I mean, guys,
He's just giving us a hard time. We've already told him our plans for the months.
Well, we told him some. I mean, he's out of the loop as far as all the event deck stuff that is still top secret.
Yeah, we still can't really talk about that.
All right. The event deck stuff is top secret, Rob. I'm sorry, we're not allowed to tell you about it. But there are big design documents, and they're pretty cool, and I'm excited. Jim's excited. It's going to be fun when it starts to click. I just put up on Dev before this the first draft of the new ground combat system, and as soon as the AI doesn't become totally hopelessly confused as a result of the new ground system, I'm going to switch to implementing and messing around with the AI system, and this will be good.
Just to elaborate on that, what's in the build that you're playing, ground invasion system is very abstract. Basically, you have transports. You have to have a certain number of troop transports, and you can bombard a planet. And then basically, there are just numbers that tick down, and it automatically takes it over.
So basically, you have to genocide the population, and then you take it, and then you start with like
not
base
exactly.
population.
If you basically
build some troop ships. If you build a bunch of troop ships, you'll just be able to absorb everyone.
Right.
Which is also unrealistic and ridiculous.
So if you have a population, if you have a target planet with 10 populations currently, and you have 5 troop ships, then you basically have to kill 5 of the population, and then you can take the rest over. So the new system actually has separate ground units that you have to load aboard the transports, and then they actually do battle on the planet, and it's a more randomized system. It's much more, I think, engaging. So that's what's going in the next few days.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, because I don't know if anybody's ever done like an occupation kind of thing in these games, right? Where it's like, okay, we took their planet, they don't like us,
right?
But we took their planet, and it's kind of a resource drain because we have to keep troops there and keep, otherwise, like if we don't have enough troops, we get an insurgency.
And Mu 2 did that. It's a fairly common feature in one way or another, I think.
So in addition to making ground invasion more interesting, it also, the ability to have separate ground units that you can move around does give us the ability to do more with population morale, and so that you may have to station permanently or semi-permanently ground troops to keep the hostile population pacified. But we also want to give the player tools to improve their relations with that race and with that population, so that maybe you can eventually move those troops out.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So you kind of hearts and minds it a little bit, and then they calm down.
Yeah, we want to have both reputation with the other factions, but also reputation with the various races. So that if you have colonists of that race, then maybe you should think twice before committing genocide on a planet that has that race somewhere else.
Could be a PR problem for you.
Yeah.
Could lead to internal problems.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that new show, The Colony, right?
I don't think I've seen it.
Where it's just like the planet Earth has been colonized and taken over by aliens, but we're still kind of alive, and they're just our hosts, but they're using our planet for resources.
I think I've seen like 4 different sci-fi
Need to
shows
left click to do
and half a dozen books that all have that.
Well, the show looks fascinating.
Haven't seen it.
I've heard mixed on it myself, but it hopefully will be good because we need more good sci-fi. Now, speaking of
right click to move.
yeah, I figured that out. Now, that colony ship went boom, real nice. Now, will this be a pure like sandbox? Or are there story elements to it? Will there be like story events of a larger story, or is it just going to be like this is your universe and this is what happens in it and that's it?
We want it to be replayable, and so we're going to, and we also want the races to be as distinct as they can be. We want the environment to be as interesting as it can be. So we're going to try to mix as much story as we can with replayability, and that's what the diplomacy, the diplomatic event stuff is all about. But it's not finalized yet, so there's not too much we can say specifically about it. But
Yeah,
that's
more
the goal.
aspirational.
If we're able to implement the system the way I think we will be able to, then I think that will work very well. Oh wow, someone's ganging up on one of those planets there.
I saw that. I have a feeling they're heading toward me. They're gonna all go right there, and then they're gonna all come right to where I just destroyed their colony ship.
I just missed that. I mean, it may be that the AIs are having a war, so you're fine.
I think that's more likely.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. It looks like the Hadouier have become awesome and are utterly crushing the humans, which is fine for you because you're fighting the humans, but could have long-term problems.
Yeah.
Because lots of purple space dinosaurs with lots of purple spaceships.
Boy. Yeah, now there are 2 of those dinosaur races, the Ashdars. There are the imperialists and the colonists.
That's correct.
How did that happen?
Well, since you were talking about story, the backstory of this galaxy is that there was once, thousands of years ago, a great empire, and the Ashdar, who were the space dinosaurs, were one of the chief overlords of that empire. And then there was a great war, and everything kind of went to hell, and the galaxy was thrown into a dark age. And so the 2 factions of the Ashdar are basically what's left of that empire, and they're different sub-races, and they have slightly different characteristics. And the humans were also one of the major combatants in that war, and they didn't come out quite so well.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things about our world building is that there are a bunch of races that know each other because they were all put back to early tech base. They all were sort of forced back into barbarism, but a number of them remember what happened the last time there was a big battle for galactic supremacy, and they may bear grudges about what happened the last time there was a battle for galactic supremacy. So you'll learn more about that in the diplomacy system.
So if you're trying to colonize Sirius, you need to select the star and then choose the colonize button from the planet itself.
Right, but for some reason I can't do that. I think
the problem is that you're Orson, and I don't... Or wait, what's going on here? Yeah, you're Orson. All I'm seeing on Sirius is arid worlds, and you're an aquatic race. So unless you have hostile environment tech, you're not going to be able to build a colony.
Well,
you need something with water or ice.
Yeah, different races have different habitability.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
So the humans, of course, can colonize it because they're fine. Like all they need is air, and you've got air, but there's no water, so you're out of luck. Now, if you had some humans in your empire, you could start to get clever and move around humans so that you could take advantage of arid worlds and so on. There's some depth to that.
Right, so there's an advantage to taking over alien planets and using their population to fill niches in some of your worlds that your own population can't fill. So you can move population around.
Oh, so you can queue research. Oh, I didn't even notice that until just now.
Yep. No, it's not very well advertised, but it's definitely there. And as the UIs get better, I think more people are going to discover it.
Right. I mean, the UI is already pretty great, but I see what you're saying. Because, there's no way I noticed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little subtle.
Holy shit, there's lots of ships moving around.
Yeah, and honestly, it gets a little overwhelming. This is where I would, I think we need to, well, if there's time to do a pass on the Galaxy map screen, one of the things people frequently ask for is a zoom feature. And I think we need it because kind of like late game Civ, you need to be able to go to a more abstract view, or even more close in. So,
I think one stage each of zoom in and zoom out would be very useful.
Yeah.
Like maybe if you zoom out enough, like units that are all going to the same place kind of blend into one, kind of like Kohan companies or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or they just turn into wedges.
Okay.
Like we're using up a lot of space right now because we're actually showing indicative starships, so you can sort of get a sense of what as well as where things are moving. But most other games in this genre will just use a wedge, and I think at one zoom out level we would just use a wedge, which would clean up the UI a bit in a case like this.
Oh, make it look like one of those, like a harpoon style carrier command style thing. If you zoom out enough, it's just a bunch of symbols. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, or like Master Variety 1, there's
whoa,
about a total of 5 pixels.
Holy shit. Okay.
Was that you, Sven?
That was me. Rob is in chat saying...
Don't do that again.
Because the universe just ended? Sorry.
Wow. I thought my keyboard was loud. Is that what it sounds like, Jim and Hunter?
Welcome to the party, Brian. Welcome to the party.
Don't throw a dead guy on my car, Hunter. God. Anyway.
Sorry.
So
I won't do that again.
We're about 15 minutes shy of 2 hours.
Are we?
So I need to take the next 15 minutes to bitch about Elite.
No. Did you not see the Steam message I sent you saying, please don't do that?
I wasn't going to say anything about it until you sent me that message, and then it's just
Son of a bitch!
If you hadn't done
I knew better. I knew I shouldn't have. Anyway, so the game is roughly 6 months out-ish. I mean, that could obviously change.
3 to 6 months,
Right.
3 to 6-ish.
The official estimate at this point.
But that could change.
Yeah.
Obviously. Shut up, Dan. Shut up, Dan. Shut up, Dan. Sorry.
Elite, what's that?
Shut up. Go play Evercron. You'll feel better. You'll feel a lot better. But, no, so 3 to 6 months-ish out. And you guys were greenlit.
Yes.
Yep. We got that.
Steam.
Congratulations. Now, are you gonna do early access on Steam, or are you gonna wait till you're done and then hit Steam?
We will probably do early access at some point.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because people seem surprised if you're only in early access for like a month or two and then you go live. That people seem to like that sort of thing. If like you have a small, reasonable amount of early access time on Steam before you hit that 1.0 button, the big easy button from Staples.
Like we were saying before, some people like to play early games, and some people just want to they want to play the game now, and they expect it to be finished. And so, I think you have to be careful to manage people's expectations when you let them play an unfinished game. So, I think when it gets to the point where all the features are in, and it just needs polished, then that might be the time to go for early access.
It's kind of amazing too. Like all these early access games on Steam clearly say early access. We're not done. There's still all this shit to do. All these features we want to implement. Blah blah blah. There's like big blue text and big blue boxes, and there's a banner on the thing that says early access. And like
people don't pay any attention to that.
Apparently
yeah,
not.
A game they expect to be able to play it. Shocking.
I mean, it's playable, but it's not done. Why don't people get that? God. Sorry. It's just so frustrating to see all these great space games, like, just butchered in early access because people expect a finished game.
I know, like Elite, right? Like, it'll be at least 2 more years before it's playable. And yeah, I've done my thing.
Go play Evercron, Jim. Go play Evercron. You'll be a lot happier. Anyway, so gentlemen, we should probably wrap this up. So the website is stars-in-shadow.com, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah, and you can drop the hyphens if you want. You go to the same place.
Oh, that's good. Okay, that's good.
You can also type in ashdar.ca if you want something really short.
Ashdar, A-S-H-D-A-R.
I think that works. I don't even... Oh, shit, I typed again. Yeah, ashdar.ca.
He said a bad word.
Oh, no, someone just called
Language.
Elite Gunk. So I want to thank you guys for stopping by, letting us play the game. I've been playing this, folks, in the chat and watching this later and listening to this later. This is good stuff. This feels both comforting, like this is what we're used to for a good 4X, plus enough variation, enough new fun stuff that it looks fun, that it looks to may have its own voice, like Sven, I think that was Sven, said earlier. So
Thanks.
this is definitely one to keep an eye out for. Again, 3 to 6 months, so we're looking maybe springish, summerish.
Yeah, springish, summerish. That's kind of what we're looking at.
Which is good, and maybe we can have you back once it's done to go. How'd that last 6 months go? Oh my God, we hate everyone.
But for God's sake, take as long as you need.
Yeah.
There's
You
no
know
rush.
what? There's no rush. Take if it turns into 6 or 9 months, for us as fans, that's fine. Just do what you got to do.
What's an extra 6 months on top of 8 years, right?
Yeah, just spend a bit more time playing XCOM. I mean, XCOM's coming out.
Oh God,
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
true.
true.
That's true. That comes out in a couple of weeks, and we just
we got Shitbreakers tomorrow, and then XCOM coming after that. I can't quit calling it that. It's
That's what it was for the longest time. Shipbreakers. That's what it was.
Well, but yeah, before the Gearbox said, "Oh, go ahead, make it an official name." So
Yeah. I shipped my bed. Anyway. That's all I can think of when I hear
shipped my pants.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
That's good.
That's all I can think of when I hear Shipbreakers is that hilariously stupid Kmart commercial. That's all I can think of.
Was that actually a real commercial?
That was actually a real
Yes.
commercial. That was an actual real commercial.
At this point, I'm actually happy to live on this planet where that could happen.
Yeah,
because-
that was actually a real commercial for actual Kmart, and apparently it did wonders for Kmart.
See what happens when you get rid of Martha Stewart? You can do good things.
Actually, they still have Martha Stewart stuff, but they just don't use her in their advertising.
I'm lost. I don't watch enough advertisements. I haven't had a TV with advertisements since.
Well,
You know what's shocking,
YouTube, man,
right? is-
YouTube.
YouTube for
Ad
commercials,
block.
really?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
You know, the thing though is, if you think about, like, I don't know how old you guys are, right? But you're old enough, right? Star Wars toys, like,
Yeah.
first time around.
College in
So-
2000, that's old enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I look back at the 80s, all that crap did its job really well because I still have all those surreal commercial jingles and the cartoon bullshit in my head.
Jim,
right?
can you
Like, as
Jim?
an
Can you
adult,
sing along with me? Honeycomb's big. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
not
small.
small.
It's not small.
Yeah.
No.
See,
See?
I had to watch.
you know what?
PBS growing up.
It's
You guys were
honestly,
slow.
I'll watch something like the Star Wars Holiday Special, and I watch it with the commercials in.
Oh,
and
God.
It's kind of like those are more entertaining to me and more nostalgia than the actual show that I'm watching.
Yeah, but
because
it's
it's just
about
like,
Well,
Star
you're
Wars
watching
holiday
the
special
holiday
there.
well, it kind of
Static would be
tempers
more
it.
entertaining than Star Wars holidays.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's something just quintessential about those old commercials. Like, I feel like chicken tonight. Everyone remembers that one, right? I feel like chicken tonight. No?
It's called nostalgia. It's,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the funny thing about the Star Wars Holiday Special, though, if you go back and look at that, there's that scene where she's in the kitchen, like, Wookiee wife or whatever, is in the kitchen, and she's, like, taking a call on a video screen, right? If you look at the monitor that she's on, it's like a 1080p flat panel in, like, 1977, 78. Right, so it's just like, oh God, it's like whenever you look at 2001 and you see the guy sitting there with an iPad, and it's just like, oh God, it happened.
Yeah. I do love that.
We
sort of
are,
thing.
in fact, in the future.
Yeah, we
Yes.
are living in the future. That's
We're
true.
totally living in the future. I mean, it's not rocket cars. It's internet connectivity and everything. It's not flying cars. Thank God. Thank God it's not flying cars. Because fuck.
I don't know, man. I want my jetpack. Okay.
We don't need that in LA. People can barely handle 2 dimensions here. I don't want to give them a third because fuck, there'd be death. Oh my God, it'd just be just a cavalcade of death is what it would be every day.
Well, like how many broke down cars do you see on the side of the road? That would be in your roof.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not good.
No, not good.
Some things about the Jetsons shouldn't have changed, but the one thing that I think is kind of tragic is we live in the age where everything is wonderful and everybody is a cynical douchebag about it, right? It's just like the world is terrible. It's just shit. It's like, hey, pull your phone out, right? You have the freaking Library of Alexandria in your goddamn pocket.
Exactly. There's a fabulous Louis C.K. bit.
Yes.
That talks exactly. You guys know what I'm talking about, yeah.
So that's like his first thing that made him famous.
Yeah, wonderful bit. Talk about
internet access on the plane.
Yeah, on the plane, exactly. He talks about how people complain about the planes. Like, you're in this amazing tube that's defying God.
You're sitting in a chair in the sky.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, this has been an all over the place show, but it's been a good one. It's been a fun one.
Us, guys.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. It's been our pleasure. So, folks, coming up on the site Thursday, we are going to be playing more Evacron Legacy. What a shock! I know. We were originally going to play Starfleet Command 2, but then this shit hit, and we're like, nope, we're pushing that shit back, and we're going to be playing multiplayer Evacron Legacy this Thursday, and then. Guys, do you remember who we're having on next Tuesday? Because I am blanking. Who are we having on next Tuesday?
Well, Trello.
Tharsis. That's going to be fun for me. We're having the developers of Tharsis on next week, and I'm going to have to explain to them how it's not their game that's fucking my mind up. It's my anxiety about crew management games that kills me every time.
I wonder if we can make it through the podcast without somebody having to eat somebody else.
Oh, that'll be fun. We've
never actually had cannibalism on the air before.
We should just have
it's only a dice roll away.
Guys, you need to get a bunch of dice and a cup and just roll them randomly at every now and then just slowly build me into a panic attack as the show goes on. That's what we need to do for that podcast.
Yeah, have you guys seen Tharsis? Because it's like we're on the way to Mars. It's a nice Sunday drive. Oh God, everything broke, and and the dice hate you.
Cartoon. Yeah,
I have to go look at that.
It's terrifying. I can't handle games like this apparently.
Well, it's like rage inducing until you figure out that this is like Vegas, right? Like I need to think about odds and start counting cards. And then I can mitigate risk, right? You build acceptable risk. But I screwed up because I got obsessed with, oh God, I got to put out all the fires. And it's the thing of like, if you don't like let the ship burn a little bit and go down there and make a sandwich instead, then you're not going to be able to put out fires next turn at all.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, it's a weird it goes after my OCD, like must put out all the fires. So yeah.
So
that's my problem.
so folks, that's who we're talking to next week is the developers of Tharsis, and it's gonna be fun for me. It's gonna be real fun for me. So
just play some FTL to calm down before the show.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I should do is play some FTL
or
some XCOM. That's what I need to play, is some XCOM. It does the same thing. It does the exact same thing with me. Mm-hmm. So guys, Sven, James, thank you so much for joining us again, guys, folks. The game is Stars in Shadow. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that, because I want to pluralize both things. Stars in Shadow. And you can find it at starsinshadow.com. It's a buy-in beta. I think we were talking about that. It's a buy-in beta, kind of, sort of, right now. Like,
you can pre-order the game.
You can pre-order the game, and you will eventually get into the beta.
Access.
Yeah, you can buy it, you can pre-order it, and eventually get into the beta once they feel it's ready to show more people.
Well, it's actually automatic. It's evolved.
Oh.
It is now really just an early access system where if you buy it, we send you a download link and you have it. It's not on Steam EA, and we're not pushing it.
Oh,
and
the updater works really great. I really like that. That's really just a nice integrated thing. I gotta say, I like that a lot.
I'm glad that took more time than should have.
Well, no, it's great, because I've been playing some older games lately. It's like, who wants to manually patch anything anymore?
Yeah, I hate waiting for the magazine to show up.
Active development, I think you really want auto patching, because
oh yeah,
I mean, what a mess it would be if I had people who had like 12 different versions of the build all trying to report bugs on the forum.
Right?
That would be a disaster.
Exactly, and like that's why I'm so glad GOG finally launched that Galaxy thing of theirs, because that just does that, which is great.
And then you don't have to worry, like, am I on the current or not?
Yeah,
So
no, it's possible to not be on current. There are if you read the game's README files, you can discover there are command line options that will stop it from updating. But unless you are hardcore enough to do that, or unless you keep yourself off the internet, it will automatically update.
That's really nice. That's really nice. So yeah, we're right. So thanks for joining us, folks on the internet and listening on the podcast. Thanks for listening. Remember, if you have a suggestion for a guest or a topic, you can hit us up at Hail, the word HAIL, at SpaceGameJunkie.com. We're always open to suggestions for topics and guests.
I have a suggestion.
Oh, what's that, Jim?
Can we get David Braben on here?
You know, if we can't even get the sound designer for Elite on here, I don't think we're going to I know. We're just such...
You know why? Because it's elitism. That's why.
Oh, and on that note, folks, I'm cutting the stream. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.